Honestly, I did think that with marathon training, I'm going to look like the cover of Runner's World. I'm going to be lean. I'm going to be that buff chick. And it didn't work out for me that way. Hey, it's Beth and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that I kind of alluded to in my last video, and that is how I have progressed from running to primarily strength training and weightlifting. So if you saw any of my other videos, you might have seen a lot of struggles with marathon training. I just want to walk you through how I came across that transition and what my experience has been like. So this first picture I want to show you is right after I finished running my first marathon, which was the Delaware Marathon back May of last year. This picture, I was definitely overweight. I was tracking, actually. People always ask me that, well, you weren't, maybe you were eating way too much, and clearly I was. But for me, what I was doing is I was tracking my intake, but I read somewhere that you should add in 100 calories per mile on your long run days. And so that's what I was doing, is I was adding all that up. So when you look at, a 20-mile long run, that's a lot of extra calories, right? So that was this first picture. I did not do any strength training really at all through my first marathon training, just because I was so focused on getting the miles and getting the distance and not getting injured that I really just focused on that and didn't really do any strength training at all. I might have done a couple bodyweight things once a week on a good week. Otherwise, it was nothing at all. Fast forward, after that marathon, I remember I actually took that picture, that first picture that I showed you, and I thought I need to make a change. I have to do something differently. Because at that point, I did want to run Twin Cities and PR my time, and I just felt heavy overall. It just was too much weight on my frame. So at that point, I did want to make a change. I wanted to fix that, and I looked to strength training because my friend was doing that, and it was working really well for her. So I started training with Fuse Fitness Coaching, and I'll put a link to their website in the description below. But with that, I started going a couple times a week, lifting, and the program was working really well for me. So much so that I did start to see changes in my physique, and I did start to lose a little bit of weight. And I was also feeling very burnt out on marathon training. I had trained to get to that first marathon. It took me about 2 years to even do that through injury and other issues. And so I was just feeling burnt out on it. I didn't really want to do it anymore. And I started dropping the long runs. I just didn't really want to do them, so I wasn't doing them. They took a lot of time and they were exhausting, and I just didn't do it. I was running a few times a week still, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, but I wasn't doing those long distance runs that I should have been doing if I was truly training for the Twin Cities race in October. So that's how I got to the second picture. So the second picture I'm going to show you was a real combination of probably equal parts strength and running to get to that second picture. And I was feeling pretty good about myself. I know I've got like a sour face in that picture. I was just tired when I took the photo, but I was really happy about the progress I made, especially when you consider the other picture I just showed you. So that was what I had been doing up to that point. That got me to the second picture was taken in October. And in October, I did run Twin Cities anyway, even though I was not traditionally trained with all of those longer runs. So I did run it, I PR'd it, I felt great. And at the same time, at that point, I was really like, I'm done with marathon training. I'm done running. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. I was just burnt out. It was also October, so in Minnesota it gets cold, and it's really not super pleasant to run outside. So I just felt done with that. And I really, at that time, wanted to change my physique. I wanted to look a little bit better. I felt like strength training was working up until that point. And I also had a vacation coming up. I was going to go on vacation with with my friend, and we were going to Costa Rica, and I really wanted to be, I wanted that bikini body. I wanted to be, cute and ready for the trip. So we kind of both agreed together to do a 10-week slim down challenge where we focused on just strength training. At least that was how I addressed it, and very little running. Sprints a couple times a week for maybe 15 minutes was all I was doing for running. I was not doing any kind of really, long, slow distance or long runs. It wasn't the 4 times a week for 40 to 50 minutes. It was really just those sprints a couple times a week. And some days I didn't do them at all. And that was how I got to this next picture. I'm going to show you. This picture was taken a few weeks ago before I started the current challenge that I'm in, which I will talk about more of that soon, but just to kind of bring you up to this point, that was how I got from the October picture to here. And for me, the switch from running, which was breaking my body down, injuring me, making me feel like I wanted more calories than I really needed, and honestly with the marathon training, I felt hungry all the dang time, like just starving. Not like I could eat, but like if I don't eat, I'm gonna die level of hunger. And I just noticed that for me, the strength training really made such a difference in my life and in my physique. And that change is what got me up until this point. The minute I dropped all of that running, it was just taking a toll on my body, and I've noticed that weightlifting works better for me. And I think that's really important, is to notice what does work for you. Running might work amazing for some people, and honestly I did think that with marathon training, I'm gonna look like the cover of Runner's World. I'm gonna be lean, I'm gonna be that buff chick, and it didn't work out for me that way. It went the opposite direction, which you can imagine is super frustrating. So I guess that's my takeaway, if I had to give you one, is try different things until you find what works for you. And this has worked for me, and I've noticed it's worked for several other people that I've come into contact with too. So if you're trying something that's not working out for you, mix it up, change some things, and that's my one piece of advice for today. So that's all I had. I just wanted to recap that change up until this point. The current challenge I'm in is going pretty well. I did have a little bit of a glitch where my body fat percentage kind of stalled last week, so I am trying to increase my calories as was recommended by my coach and trainer, and we're going to see if that can make a positive impact this time. It's one of those things where if you build up, my amateur understanding is, if you build up enough muscle, and if you can get your metabolism up to a point where it's really revved up, you can increase calories to reduce body fat percentage. So that is what I am working on this week. I'm diligently tracking. If you're curious what I'm up to, you can check that out on MyFitnessPal. I track everything religiously down to the gram, and that is what I'm up to there. Otherwise, that really is it. Thank you so much for watching this, what is now turned into a very long video. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you on the next one. Thanks, bye.